We welcome back to our show Dr. James Peterson, Director of Africana Studies at Lehigh University. Dr. Peterson, welcome. Good to have you here. It's well documented that arts programs enhance the educational experience. Why are schools cutting them?
You know, that's a good question. About a month ago, my daughter came home from school and she was absolutely distraught because the principal and the teachers had said to her that they're cutting all the so-called specials. And what was interesting is that her response is, how do we, can we raise money? Can we do car washes? Can we, how do we keep, the classes were very, very important to her and to her classmates. And so that struck me as a really, really sort of sad story. I could recall that the president in February had made this sort of national statement to the governors of the United States to say, hey, we need to try to find different ways of maximizing our budgets other than cutting things in schools, but obviously that's not happening.
Because music is proven that it enhances, it makes, especially children with who are not able to read, oftentimes music is a very good aid in helping them, and it's being cut.
That's exactly right. Studies show that music and the arts enhance the educational processes, and yes, for everyone who has different learning styles, these so-called special classes are very, very important for them in terms of the educational process. Now, I would think that if we really put our mind to it, we could find different things to cut other than education for young children.
All right, well, I'll take the flip side of it, and I'll go to people who are saying, especially you look at some inner city schools, troubled areas, and they say, listen, our kids can't read and write. Who needs music and art if we can't do basic reading, writing, and arithmetic?
Well, to those skeptics, what I would say is what we're looking at really is the defunding of the public educational system. And in some systems, some public school districts, those specials include classes on technology and other classes that are really, really important. And so I think in the state of Pennsylvania, we had $100 million removed from the K-12 education budget, $200 million removed from the broader educational budget, and we have to really ask ourselves, do we want to live in a country that is underfunding and defunding public education? I would say no, we don't. In fact, if we're really concerned about literacy and math and training our students to become workers of the future, we should be going in the other direction. We should be investing more resources into the system.
Yet schools are limited by laws and regulations. They can only do what they're told, and they only have certain resources. How can the community help?
Well, that's a great question. I know that there are some communities that are trying to raise funds. There are some communities that are having town hall meetings. It's interesting because, we voted to put these governors in place. And so sometimes we have to think about, are we voting for or against our interests? But I think in the immediate future, we've got to organize around these issues, and that's through town hall meetings, raising funds. I think if you did a poll of some of these school districts, you would find that some of the citizens in those districts will be willing to pay higher taxes to keep some of those classes.
Did you say they'd be willing to pay higher taxes?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. To keep the school, to keep those classes in the school system and to kind of invest in the future of our communities.
Well, could they afford to? I mean, especially when you're dealing with some districts where people are struggling just to put food on the table.
You know what? I think affordability is determined by the circumstance. And the circumstances here is we are moving into the sort of 21st century where we absolutely need scientists, we need mathematicians, we need smart people in the new economy. And if we don't sort of invest in that, 10, 15 years down the line, we're going to reap some awful benefits from that. I think people in these communities understand that, and that's why you're seeing some of the outrage about some of these budget cuts.
All right, so what's a family to do if they can't afford to enroll their kids in private dance or music classes or what have you? After school programs are being cut as well. What are families to do if they can't afford it? Single parents, double working families,
right.
What are they to do?
Again, it's just a tough challenge, and this is why we need the public education system to sort of bear some of the burden of why it's there. We already pay taxes into that system, but the bottom line is there are lots of things online. There are lots of resources like the Khan Academy online and different things that you can go to supplement what's going on with your kids in school, but we cannot lose sort of sight of the eye. We have to keep our eyes on the prize here, and the prize is pushing our legislators and our politicians to refund and invest in the public educational system.
So what are the political implications here? Is there a political undercurrent going on here?
Well, these are largely Republican governors who are under pressure to reduce budgets, and I think that's an important political position to take. Obviously, we have an economy that's overspending, but we have to make really smart decisions about where we make cuts, and we simply cannot cut public education. There's too much at stake in the future in terms of training young people to work in the green economy, in the information age economy. Those things are very, very high stakes. So short-term budget cuts sort of overshadow what the long-term implications here are.
And again, it's not just arts and education. It's a lot of special ed programs that are being cut as well.
Again, it's gym. It's also some of these sort of technology classes like robotics classes, things that are called specials, things that they think are expendable, I would argue sometimes are central to the educational process.
Dr. Peterson, always a pleasure to have you here.
Same here. Thank you.
All right. Look forward to seeing you back again. Bye.